What's up, Infected? It's Wolf of the Quarantine, and this is Kickstart Your Week. So, if you're not familiar with what Kickstart Your Week is, this is my weekly segment where I basically cover the previous week's Kickstarters and really what I thought looked interesting. Now, there's really only one rule that I abide by, and I always narrow the selection down to 5 games. Other than that, there's no real hard fast rules about what I do and do not choose to actually go into Kickstart Your Week. It's really just what caught my eye. Maybe the title caught my eye, maybe the thumbnail did, maybe I looked into it more and the gameplay did. There's really no hard fast rules. Alright, starting this off is Vanguard of War. Now, before I get started, I know the Archon game studio, I think is what they're actually called. They're the ones who made Load, and there was a big controversy about Load and whether they stole, I think it was Rub and Bones rulebook, something along those lines. I actually won a copy of the upgraded version of Load that I recently sold to a buddy because it's just a super long game that plays 2 players, and I could never get it to the table because I had other 2-player games I would usually rather play, but it was a solid game. So with all of that nonsense aside, this one is a tower defense game, which I'm a big fan of tower defense games. I can't remember the name of the one I used to play all the time, but either way, I'm a big fan of tower defense games, and I feel like the name is right on the tip of my tongue. But it was, you had like this convoy. It was a reverse tower defense game. You were actually the things trying to get in through, and the enemies had the towers, and I can't remember its name. But I'm a big fan of those games. They're just a great game to just waste a ton of time on. And this one, of course, Archon Studio, they definitely do really good minis. If nothing else with Load, that is one thing I can definitely say, is the minis are phenomenal. And the game was solid. And this one looks like it's a mix between Load, or if you never played Load, basically just a MOBA in general. If you don't know what MOBAs are, they're like Dota, Han, what's the other one? The one with the ancient gods and goddesses, actually my favorite one. I can't remember what its name is, but basically those are MOBAs, and it looks like that mixed with the tower defense game. So you got this big board, you have the path that all the bad guys are going to take, and then your area. So rather than setting up stationary turrets, you have heroes that you either place down or you move around. I'm not really sure. Now, the couple things that make me skeptical about this is I wasn't able to, granted, I've only skimmed this page here, because, I mean, look at these minis. They look so nice. I couldn't tell how the combat works. Now, the combat in Load is dice-based. You have a stat. The stat, you roll dice equal to the stat. You got to roll over a certain number, whole 9 yards. So I'm guessing this is probably the same, but I don't know. But it's from a company that, regardless of what the crap that happened with Load was a solid game. So they do make decent games at least. So this one just looked interesting, and the minis are beautiful, and I'm a sucker for tower defense games. Alright, next up is Atlantis Island of Gods. Now, this one looks really interesting. From what I was able to tell, it looks like it's effectively like a set collecting game where you're in the lost city of Atlantis before it was a lost city, I guess, and you are trying to match these symbols on cards, match colors, I guess, on cards in order to erect statues and monuments to different gods. Once you've erected those monuments to the gods, you're going to be upgrading them, and you're basically trying to have as you see here, little colors. I don't know why I pointed at the screen like you can see it, but as you see here, you have these colors, and they match the colors on these boards. So you're going to be getting those together and trying to build these statues and upgrade your statues and stuff. And it's got a pretty cool action thing where you can take 5 actions on your turn. You can take multiple actions over and over, or in any order you want, and whatever. But when I take an action, I hand you one of those action tokens, because it looks like it could be pretty, there could be a lot going on. So by doing that, it reminds you, if I build this temple and I have a couple other steps that I have to follow, it's easy for me to remember, okay, I still have 3 or 4 or 2 or whatever actions left. So it's really cool. I really like the temple minis for the different players. It looks really, really cool. And I mean, all around, it looks like a really pretty game. I really, really like the artwork. Now, here's my problem. So I almost thought about not adding this to the game to it. So I notice here, you know us from our previous Kickstarter campaigns. It's like, okay, this name looks kind of familiar. I looked here, and they made Martians: A Story of Civilization. Now, I really wanted to love that game, but the game was not very good. The game itself was great, but once you realize this winning strategy, I had a 100% win rate. I probably played the game 20 or so times. I lost one time, and that was before I figured out what you needed to do. Didn't matter what mission it was, but once I figured out what you needed to do every single game, it was a 100% win rate. So it basically lost everything. And then when I contacted them to ask them, hey, I just wanted to point this out, they basically responded with, well, I like to play the game thematically, so I'm going to do it this way instead. I was like, that's kind of a bullshit cop-out answer, but whatever. So because of that, that kind of makes me a little worried on the balance of the game, because I have been let down. And I really wanted that game to be fantastic, because as you saw there, I mean, it's basically Matt Damon, the board game. You have colonies on Mars, you're trying to have them not die. It's fantastic setting, and everything else about the game was really cool. It's just, if you're going to win the game 100% of the time, it's kind of a design flaw in my opinion. But next up we have Trogdor! Sorry if I hurt anybody's ears. Anybody who remembers Homestar Runner, back in the ye olde days of the interwebs, Trogdor was a dragon, and he likes to burninate the countryside. I cannot talk tonight. It was a really silly thing from Strong Bad. I used to love it back in the day. I don't remember a lot of them because it's been a long time and I have a god awful memory. But I used to watch Strong Bad all the time, and along with Dr. Tran, I think is what it was. So yeah, anyways, Strong Bad was awesome, and Trogdor is just, it's a good fun game. Now, if you didn't know, I also have a review, well, not a review, sorry, I have a paid preview of this game that is up on the channel. But basically, it's a giant two-player puzzle, is really what it is. Or not a two-player puzzle, it's a multiple-player puzzle, really. And what your goal is you're trying to burninate the entire countryside, burn the thatch roof cottages, and burninate the peasants as well. There's different ways you can do that. You have different allies of Trogdor that you can use. You have different items, all of which change a lot of things that you're able to do. And even though it was a paid preview, it was a good fun game. And then on top of that, they have this really cool wormwood board, which really intrigues me. So this one I can definitely tell you, because I've actually played this one. It is a good game. But you have this super awesome board if you have $1,800, I guess. Well, I don't know. This one's $500. So if you have $500, this one looks super sexy, and I'm pretty sure I've downloaded porn that isn't as hot as this one is. Next up is Thunderstone Quest, Back to the Dungeon from AEG. Now, I actually just recently released a review for the base game, Thunderstone Quest, from the last Kickstarter. And spoiler alert, it's a great review. The game is phenomenal. If you like deck builders and you like dungeon crawlers, this is basically an abstract dungeon crawling deck builder. This is basically what it is. But unlike normal deck builders where you're going to be getting rid of a lot of cards out of your deck, generally speaking with this, rather than getting rid of a bunch of cards in your deck, you're just going to be upgrading cards that are already in your deck. So it's a really interesting game. You have this quest book, you have just tons and tons of cards. It's stupid how many cards there are in this game. It says 245, 5 quests. Each quest includes 245 cards and 6 dungeon crawls. Each quest! That's 5 quests! That's a lot of freaking cards. But basically what this one adds is this one here adds a barricade mode where you can play solo and cooperative, which is pretty cool. I'm curious about these double boards. I guess they probably replaced the wilderness, and I don't really understand what this is. Probably some way to keep track of the enemy player. But it also has What Lies Beneath, which is just another quest. Now, I've reached out to AEG to see if they were going to be sending me a copy of this to review as well. I haven't really got any word back. I'm hoping they do, so AEG, if you heard this, I would totally love a copy of this to review. But it is a fantastic game. Basically, the quick and dirty, at the beginning of your turn, you're going to choose, do you go to this village or do you go to the dungeon? You're going to play your cards, you're going to buy crap, heal stuff, recruit followers, or you're going to go into the dungeon and beat the snot out of things. It very much, it's as simple to learn as a standard deck builder, but it has enough meat behind it that it's just a phenomenal game. And lastly, we have Era of Kingdoms. Now, I'm a big fan of like city builder games like Through the Ages, Seven Wonders Duel. I've never actually played Seven Wonders, which I really need to, but have Seven Wonders Duel. I love going, taking like your empire or your city or your culture, your whatever, and advancing it through these ages and watching everybody else advance theirs a little differently, but they're still keeping up with you. I love that concept. Now, what this basically is it looks like it's a card game version of kind of a city builder, basically an empire builder. But where this one works, you have 3 different decks. You have beginner, intermediate, and it looks like advanced cards, and once your civilization reaches the next level, then you can start getting cards out of the next deck, and then so on and so forth. And you're going to be cultivating the land around you and upgrading it. You need more stone, go ahead and build more stuff in the mountains. You're going to be recruiting people to work in all of them, stuff like that. But you also seem to have leaders, basically, which I thought was interesting. So it looks like on the right hand side there of the player board that you can see, looks like you're going to have different leaders that you're going to be advancing up these tracks, and I guess where they are kind of affects certain parts of the game. So I wasn't able to see too much about that, but it looks like a really interesting abstract city building game, which looks really interesting. Really like the artwork on it. It just, I don't know, it really looks like it scratches that itch of like a medieval city builder, basically. And that is Kickstart Your Week for this week. Now, for my arbitrary Kickstart Your Week or Kickstarter of the Week award, it was really a toss-up. It was going to be between Trogdor, which I played and I did a paid preview for it, and it's a fantastic game, or Thunderstone Quest, which I've played the base game and I adore, and so I was really tossed up between those, but I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I wound up settling with Thunderstone Quest, purely because I'm a big fan of deck builders, and it plays really well. It's super fun. It feels super tense. I love the idea of you are like the guild leader and you are recruiting people to your guild and sending them out on a mission, is basically what it feels like. I've never played it, but from what I've seen of it, it looks like Lords of Waterdeep, where you are sending people out to do missions rather than going on yourself. And that's kind of how this feels. You got these heroes, you're equipping them, but you can only equip them with what's in your hand. So you look at your hand of cards and go, okay, well, I have a rogue and a wizard, I have a spell and like a dagger and a sword. Okay, we'll go into the dungeon. I'm good to be able to, come down here and do this and whatnot. It's a fantastic game. And then the fact that they're just holy shit, there's so much stuff to this game. It is ridiculous how much stuff is in that box. So you could play this game, God, probably 1,000 times and never play the same game, especially if you play the randomizer, because just all the stuff is just always going to be different. It's just nuts. Anyways, that is my Kickstart Your Week award. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you are new here, definitely stick around, hit that subscribe button. Should be, what is it, right over here. If you like this channel, you'd like to help support it, stick around, hit that subscribe button. I definitely appreciate it. If you'd like to help support the channel, I have a Patreon link down in the description, and I also have a one-time donation link down there as well if you prefer that. Even $1 definitely helps. If not, again, just stick around, watch the videos. Definitely support me that way. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time in the quarantine.